Welcome to the Naavik Gaming Podcast, where it is our mission to explore the business and future of video games. We bring together the industry's brightest builders, investors, and thinkers to keep a pulse on current events, dissect emerging trends in games, share lessons learned, and have a great time. This podcast is also part of Naavik's growing ecosystem, which ranges from free and premium research to consulting and advisory services. For more information, visit www.naavik.co. This episode is brought to you by Overwolf. With over 1,500 games supported, 178,000 creators, and 113 million monthly active users, Overwolf is the guild for in-game creators. Whether you're a gamer, creator, or game studio, Overwolf is the ultimate destination for integrating UGC into games. For game studios, Overwolf offers CurseForge for studios, a white label solution that lets game makers and publishers easily integrate mods safely and seamlessly into their games, both existing and new, at zero cost. It's battle-tested by AAA studios and games, including Krafton with Inzoi, Studio Wildcard with Arc, Take-Two Interactive, and others. Alongside this, Overwolf is the all-in-one platform that enables creators to build, distribute, and monetize in-game apps, mods, and game servers. In 2024, Overwolf paid over $240 million to in-game creators, proving that they truly value the talents and contributions of the gaming community. You can check out all Overwolf has to offer at overwolf.com, or simply check out the link in the show notes. Today's episode is brought to you by Model AI, a team using the latest breakthroughs in agentic AI to transform how games are tested. Instead of relying on brittle scripts or deep integrations, Model QA Plus uses computer vision and reasoning models so AI agents can actually play your game, finding bugs the same way a human would, only faster. Born from a company pivot earlier this year, Model AI was rebuilt from the ground up to tackle one of gaming's hardest problems: generalizable gameplay without any integration work. The result is a black box QA platform that's fast, scalable, and learning with every run. Check them out at model.ai to see how AI is reshaping game QA and learn how your team can benefit. Now, let's go to the episode.
Welcome to the Naavik Gaming Podcast. I'm your host, David Taylor, and today we're diving into the world of Fortnite Creative and the ecosystem to break down a wave of major updates Epic has rolled out over the past few weeks and some of the biggest moments from the last few months. We're going to hit on the biggest topics shaping the ecosystem right now, including the rise of Steal the Brainrot, what it signals for developers, and the recent M&A activity that is occurring on the platform. From there, we'll dig into why Epic's decision to allow in-island item sales is such a huge unlock, as well as the recent introduction of UA rewards, paid campaigns, and changes to discovery and what it means for the creators on the platform. Returning to the podcast to discuss all of these changes is Chad Mustard, the CEO of JOGO Studios, top 10 developer in terms of plays, as well as a new guest, Jon Jungemann, aka SightedSloth, a leader in the Tycoon genre on the platform. Welcome to the podcast, guys.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for having me.
So just to kick us off, Chad, you've been on the podcast before, but for folks who missed, could you give a quick introduction before we let Jon introduce himself for the first time?
Sure. The name's Chad Mustard. I'm the COO, not the CEO of JOGO Games. It's okay, Dave. I've been doing Fortnite. I'm a Fortnite content creator since Fortnite came out. It was done a lot of YouTube videos. When Fortnite Creative came out, I switched my content to Fortnite Creative and spent a long time building an audience there. And then when UEFN came out, I partnered with Typical Gamer, who's another YouTuber, and we started JOGO and started making maps together. And it's been a lot of fun, a lot of successes, a lot of failures as well. And it's been a really good learning experience, and excited about the future of UEFN and other UGC platforms.
Awesome. And Jon?
Yeah, my name's Jon. I'm also known as Sloth in the space. I actually started with Fortnite. I started playing Fortnite back when Save the World came out, is what I originally got it for, and was excited when Creative came out, but I never hopped on. And I've been a developer for 10 plus years on mobile apps. And as soon as UEFN was announced, I was so excited. I had to hop in. I had to get into this. I was like, I'm not going to miss this chance to make video games. And it's led to this being my full-time job now for over the last year and a half. And I love it. I've met a lot of people. I've gotten to go to Unreal Fest. It's a lot of fun. It's really cool how small the space is, but everybody's like willing to help.
That's amazing. We had Berto on the podcast. He similarly was working at Microsoft, and then UEFN came out and he made minigame box PvP, which blew up, and then he also had to quit his job. So it's just cool to see like a lot of people sort of being able to pursue their dreams through UGC gaming.
Yeah.
So we're going to sort of just jump right into the meat of the conversation, I think. The place where I wanted to kick things off was, for a long time, there wasn't a ton of breakout hits on the creative side. You had your, traditional games like The Pit that had been there since the very beginning of Fortnite Creative, but very few had really broken through. And then in the last month or so, I think maybe last 6 weeks, we saw Steal the Brainrot come over and basically take over the entire creative platform, which is interesting because Steal a Brainrot was a breakout hit on Roblox, and then somebody else came over and made it on Fortnite. And so I just wanted to kind of discuss the implications of this, both from from an inspiration perspective, but also from a what does it mean for the Fortnite creator ecosystem now that games can be bigger than, there's a game that can be bigger than Battle Royale at some points of the week.
I can start us off here, John. It's really cool to see that it's possible to rival Epic Games, right? So there is a potential to, it just proves that there is that ability for players to stay on the platform and play something other than Battle Royale. That is a great inspiration, I think, for everyone. Now, the Steal a Brainrot game mode itself is very divisive in the community, both from on the developer side to even the player side. A lot of players will look at Epic promoting Steal a Brainrot and they're like, why are you promoting this Brainrot AI, whatever, and a lot of players get upset about that. And at least on, public posts on X or anywhere else, you'll see a lot of negativity around it. But the players that are playing it are continuing to play it. So that is one thing that shows me that there is a demand for something other than a combat map or a combat game in the ecosystem. So that's very encouraging. And we kind of saw this trend happening before even Steal a Brainrot. You'd see, I think we're seeing that Roblox has a lot of influence. There's, when something is blowing up on Roblox, people want to play it on other platforms as well. You've seen, or you've even seen it on Roblox, where you see something blowing up on Roblox and people make a copy of it, like Peak or something on Roblox, and it starts to do well. People want to play things on other platforms, and Fortnite's no exception. So we saw there was some Grow a Garden knockoffs that did fairly well, not as well as Steal a Brainrot, or even like 99 Nights in the Forest, or there's a couple of other popular Roblox games that have also done well in Fortnite. I think Steal a Brainrot's a little different, where they have done a really, really good job updating the game and keeping it fresh and interesting. And the gameplay loop is a little bit more addicting than, say, some of those other games I mentioned. But Epic has also gone all in on promoting them with like really hero banners and stuff. So it is exciting to see that Epic is changing their systems to promote maps that are doing well. I hope to see more game modes break out like that. I don't know what those are going to be, but it has affected other maps, like the combat maps that were doing well have actually taken a hit in player base because they're playing Steal Brainrot as opposed to playing those. So, it depends on who you talk to. It's a good thing or a bad thing, depending on like how it's affecting their revenue, right? It is negatively affecting other people's revenue because so many players are playing Steal a Brainrot. which is great for Farron's who made it. Like they're doing awesome, and Dubig, who has partnered with them as well, which is a huge Roblox company. So there's positive and negatives to everything, but I think it's probably more positive than negative in terms of seeing where the ecosystem can go and where we don't have to rely on Battle Royale forever.
Yeah. I think one of the things that makes Steel Brainrot super compelling as a port over to Fortnite is at its core is a PvP game, and that's what has made Steel Brainrot so sticky on Roblox is the PvP aspect, because every game feels different, right? And I think part of the reason why Grow a Garden lost steam on Roblox and maybe never had a big success on Fortnite is because it's just a PvE casual sort of cozy game, and so like that just doesn't translate quite as well as what makes Fortnite so good, which is like that PvP component. So I actually haven't played the game, but I can imagine like it probably makes sense in the Fortnite universe.
Oh yeah, I mean the gameplay loop for Steel Brainrot is fantastic. Like it's a really quick and easy thing to understand, and it's not like a giant world that you have to go and explore. It's like there's very few things. It's very simple to understand, and then it's a collecting thing, right? It's like Pokemon, like you got to catch them all type thing, and so that makes it really easy to update. You release, they put out 2 or 3 new Brainrots every week, and so there's new things to come back and try and get every week with live events and promotion and all this stuff behind it. And like the kids want to see what are the new Brainrots, so they look up the YouTube videos and the YouTubers that are promoting it, and it becomes this like self-sustaining loop because they have some really strong retention mechanics in it versus. I mean, is even Grow Garden had similar things where it's like, oh, there's new seeds and new things coming out, but the PvP element where you can like steal other people's Brainrots and there's always this like risk of losing everything is another part of it. So yeah, it's a fun game. There's arguments to be made about the whole AI stuff behind it and like the genesis of what Brainrot is and whatever. There's always going to be something where people are like, oh, I can't believe kids, I would never have played Brainrot if I was a kid. Yeah, right. The same thing with like people when Fortnite was getting big. People were like, Fortnite's the worst. When I was playing games, it was cool, right? Or it's always going to be like that. Like the next generation will never understand the younger generation. But I think it has been fun to watch.
Yeah, I mean, to me, Brainrot is a great case study in what happens to IP when it's not gate kept. Like if you just give people the ability to play around with an IP, like they'll figure out the way to make it the most fun. And so like that's why Brainrot has been so successful, is it's like a recognizable IP that kids will engage with, and there's no restrictions on the use. And so everybody's making Brainrot games because it's like, well, I just need something that will get people in the door, and then you just deliver fun gameplay, and that's what keeps them around.
Yes, I would hope. I hope sometimes that IPs look at this. Like for me, I look at like the anime world, where like every kid would love to play with all of those IPs, and if there was a legal way to play with those IPs without having to share so much of your revenue, like I think it would really benefit those IPs because it would just blow them up more. People are like, what is Brainrot? They look up what Brainrot is and like, oh, okay, this is dumb, or this is actually kind of interesting and fun. I think it's fun. I think it's fun to just be like, wow, you're combining all of these real world things together to make something crazy. And like to me, it is the new Pokemon version, and anyone can make their own Brainrots now. You just make it up, and there it is, and it's cool and fun. So I like it personally. Hopefully nobody like listens to this and like, this mustard guy's the worst for liking anything AI or that came from AI. But like I think it's just fun. Like I could see my kids have not been exposed to Brainrot yet, but I know they would love it. Could they be like, well, combine a wombat my wombat's my daughter's favorite animal. She'd be, what if I combine a wombat with a chair? And like, there's a Brainrot, right? Like, she would love to see that.
True.
So,
Yeah.
like, as a kid, when I was young, I would have been like typing up all sorts of things and making things up. And so I get it. I get why it's blown up.
Cool. I want to sort of transition to the next topic of sort of the going-ons of the Fortnite creative ecosystem around some recent M&A activity, right? The Pit was acquired. This is obviously a phenomenon that's really present on Roblox. You know, we see through our data just constantly games are changing hands between creators, smaller creators selling to slightly larger creators, selling to slightly larger creators, selling to like large studios. I mean, this is just sort of like, you know, the common path of a piece of content on Roblox at this point. And we saw some early inklings of that with Beyond Gaijin buying the Pit. So just wanted to hear if this is happening, if you guys are seeing sort of this activity on a broader scale, or if these are sort of one-offs with the largest games being acquired by like non-native studios.
And kind of what I've seen, I feel like it's kind of slowed down since the Pit acquisition. I think like Roblox is really attractive for other investors right now. It seems like that's the bigger focus. I have not, I guess, seen a lot of different acquisitions since that one.
I've only seen a couple. I know, I don't know if I want to name names here, but I've seen a couple of larger people buy some like Brainrot games and try to grow those. So that has happened a little bit. It is nowhere near as sophisticated a system as Roblox is. I mean, Roblox, like, that is kind of like the market for games right now, versus in UEFN, it is still build your own game, see if you can grow it. I mean, JOGO, we bought a couple of maps, a couple of more pro maps, and I still think it's a viable thing in UEFN, because the hardest part is building that first loyal base of a few hundred concurrent players, to you know, anywhere from like 200 to 1,000. Like, that is really hard to build that base, and then you can grow. If you can grow it from there and maintain it, like, that's where an investment becomes interesting. Versus you can invest a lot of money making a game, and then you might get a few hundred players, and then it just dies, right? Because you couldn't maintain that player base. So there is still viability there, I think, but I still think there is a lot of hesitancy to buy and sell games, because if you sell it and it blows up, you're like, shoot, that could have been me. Versus getting the payout right away, kind of thing. So it is still happening, but it is not very common.
Yeah. And I mean, last time I checked on the Fortnite ecosystem, the sort of the shape of these engagement graphs was like very high peak and then basically way back down to the bottom.
Yep.
Like even approaching zero. And so like from a buying perspective, it's like there's not really any opportunity to like invest and make a return over a longer period of time. Has it changed at all, or are like engagement graphs still looking like, you know, you get your one shot in the sun and then after a week it's basically over?
If you're not the top creator, it's hard. Yeah, I would say that's pretty accurate. Every one of my maps that's done well, your biggest hit is your initial release, and then if you get epic picks, that's usually the second biggest like peak. Has been in my experience, unless you have, you know, something like a content creator or social media influencer to be able to promote it. That first discover hit's usually the best one.
Yeah, I would agree. It's still, I would still say 99% of maps are gonna follow that trend. That doesn't mean there aren't maps that are breaking that trend. Some of the examples are the Brainrot maps, like Steal a Brainrot, or there's a few others that have popped up that have been able to maintain a fairly good player base for, you know, longer than a month. But to stick around and like have like a solid player base that's always there, that is extremely rare. That's only happening one out of, I don't know, probably 10,000 maps like that's happening.
Got it. And do you guys have any perspective on like what the key difference is between Roblox and Fortnite that allows for these Roblox games to basically sustain audiences for significantly longer than Fortnite?
Mobile.
I think mobile's the big part. On Roblox, you can be on a game on your phone in 10 seconds.
Yeah.
You're a couple minutes on Fortnite, and as far as I last checked, it's like 80-90% of the user base on Roblox is mobile, right? So I think that's the biggest challenge right now.
I mean, this is honestly why I'm so bullish on Roblox long term, is because the platform user experience is so much more superior to any other platform, like console, PC, what have you. Like being able to just get into a game for the first time and be in it in 5 minutes is just such a good player experience. And the next best thing is like 30 seconds on mobile, like if you have a good internet connection, and then like a minute to an hour on PC and console, depending on how big the game is. So like, even though the quality of the games isn't as great, like just the ability to pop into a new game every minute until you find something you really like is just so good from a player perspective.
100%. And I think that is it. Because you can, at any point in the middle of your class, you could just be like, teacher's not looking. I can go and collect my get a couple of Brainrots off of the line or whatever. That is it. So there's retention there. There's all sorts of things. Your mom isn't watching. Like, you don't have to go boot up your Xbox or your PC to play it. And then when there's an update, you don't have to download a 90 gigabyte download. Like there is Fortnite is at a huge disadvantage there in terms of player base growth. Fortnite has saturated the console market. Like there's the only way for them to grow on console is to sell more consoles. And so there's if Fortnite or Epic can ever figure out how to really make the mobile experience more accessible, then I think there's going to be some competition for Roblox. But until that's figured out, Roblox is going to dominate.
What happened with the mobile launch? Like, there was a big announcement around them being able to offer it in at least the EU. Did nothing come of that? Like, is there not a lot of players using it?
I think the biggest challenge right now is still like, I think Fortnite is amazing. I'm bullish on Fortnite, so I'll say that. Like, I'm huge on it. I think it's got great potential, but I think Fortnite is in a spot where it has to differentiate itself from Roblox, because like every kid talks with each other about Roblox, and they can go download it and be on it so quickly. You can get, like in the US on iPhone, you can have Fortnite now, but it's like 30 gigabyte download, and a lot of kids, they're not going to do that. They're just going to go play Roblox. And I think, and then, this is kind of an addition to the Brainrot stuff growing in Fortnite. It is exciting, but it's also a challenge, because I think that if it doesn't differentiate itself from Roblox, so why are kids, they're just going to go play Roblox, because what's the point? I can get in that quicker. I kind of look at Fortnite as like the AAA UGC. And so I think long term, it would be really cool to see that differentiation. And I think that's where there's a higher potential, because I think that the CCU is the thing, that the hot flashy thing to everybody, but the real thing is spend in Fortnite is way higher per customer than Roblox. So I think we can just, if there's more things that we can do to differentiate ourselves and make better games that make people want to download Fortnite, I think that's going to be the big thing.
Yeah. So we're sort of saving this. I was saving this for the end of the conversation, but let's dive into it now, and then we can get to sort of the major innovations that Fortnite has rolled out. So, Fortnite engagement is undeniably down substantially from last year, and even further down from the year before. Right? They had Fortnite OG, which really was a huge boost to the ecosystem, to their player base. Now we're, around 1 million, slightly over 1 million CCU, whereas back then it was like 3 million plus. And so I'm just curious, like, where are we in sort of the life of Fortnite? Is this a temporary lull, and they're going to come roaring back with some huge update that nobody, that blows everybody away, like Fortnite OG or the Big Bang event, um, or are we sort of in sort of the other side of the peak, and we're sort of just moving through the usual player decline that comes with most games in the world?
That's a hard question to answer. I think there's ebbs and flows to to any game, and especially Fortnite is kind of a pioneer of this whole new like live ops type of thing. Like it used to be like, well, now you get Call of Duty 20,000 or whatever, and they just release a new game every year. Versus this is Fortnite 7. Like we're entering chapter 7 and at the end of this week, and who knows? Like maybe that'll attract a bunch of players back and could be a really strong chapter. A lot of it depends on that and how people respond to it. I think Epic has done a really good job at bringing people back consistently with either collabs or events or new. They take a lot of risks with their game in updating it and trying different and new things, and you never know if something's going to just spike people coming back. But I think I see the vision of what UEFN and Fortnite together can be, and watching something like still a Brainrot grow into where it's hitting hundreds of thousands of CCUs every day. It shows me that there are other games that can live in this and where it can grow, and maybe there is some game that a developer makes or even Epic makes that attracts a big audience in. And I think we were going to talk about this later too, but like even they announced that they're going to bring in Unity games where you could potentially play. It really becomes a platform then where you're clicking on a Unity game and playing that Unity game like right off of Fortnite. And so I don't know. I don't know what the future is going to hold. I think we're definitely in a slump. But that could change. I mean, the same thing with Roblox. Roblox didn't have all the player base 10 years ago. But now they do, right? And they've seen that growth, and I'm hoping I think Epic will figure it out. I don't know how long that's going to take though.
Yeah, I would agree. I think that long term, I think we're in a slump right now, but long term, as our ability to create in UEFN and what we can do can start to rival that of Battle Royale and Reload and all those different Epic created modes, I think that will be what ultimately drives that engagement and group growth, because it's kind of like the movie Ready Player One. Like it's going to be huge, right? Like there's no other, like Chad said, there's no other platform where you have all these skins and everything you've invested in all this time, like into this big game. You don't do that in Call of Duty, right? Like I think that this has a opportunity to drive a really meaningful, rounded adult audience even. So
yeah.
Long-term potential is huge.
That is the huge, just like John was saying, is like all of those skins already exist. Disney is already got all of their IPs in it, and that's going to be even bigger in the coming year or two. And but Disney playing with the Paramount characters, playing with Goku, playing with whoever, you can't do that on Roblox, at least legally.
No.
and like that is such a big, man, that is such a hard thing that Epic has done and tackled that no one else has really even had the guts to do, and also convinced all of those different IPs to play in the same playground. And so like that is, to me, is something that is more sustainable, or that gives me hope for sustainability in the future.
Yeah. I think that's cool. And you can even look at the... Oh, sorry.
No, you go ahead. Go ahead, John.
I was going to say, you can even look at the end of this season promo. You have Homer Simpson and Godzilla and the Megazord all in one fighting.
Yeah.
Like, where else in the world can you see that to where you can be Master Chief shooting at Homer Simpson? It's just the potential long term is just so huge that I don't think that I would be arguing that Roblox won't compete with that. Like, where are you going to be able to play Disney, Lego, and everything all in one place? It's Fortnite.
Yeah, makes sense. And I mean, Steal the Brainrot being successful signals that creators can, drive meaningful engagement. I think the other question that comes up though is like, there's always been sort of a restrictive tool set on UEFN. It's always been limited in what types of games you can make. And that's sort of where we're going to get into like the monetization, which is a huge step. But I just wanted to see like have the tools evolved to the extent where you're feeling like you can make new games, or are you still sort of like confined to the primary Fortnite framework?
I think it's challenging. It's a hard question to answer because we don't know what drives Discover, and we had a map that we made called Grow Farm where the playtime was over 60 minutes and almost 30% retention day one, and all of our stats were great, but it didn't have the click through, so it didn't take off in Discover. So some of the tech's kind of there to get us to be able to make different games, but with that comes some risk because it's new tech, and so it's also not as stable. So I think we're getting there. Whether we're there yet or not, I don't know.
I would say there's not. Yes, it's way better than it was 2 years ago. Like, absolutely, we're getting new stuff constantly. Just like we're about to talk about, like some of these new things. But there's also some really critical things that are missing. That you would expect in like a normal video game, like leaderboards, like just having a worldwide leaderboard where if David scores 1,000 points and he's the top in the world, but I can't see that unless I manually put it in. Like, there's no automated leaderboards. Like, that is such a core game function, especially where PvP is involved, that we don't have access to that, right? Or
I feel like we were talking about this like 2 years ago, and it was like 100%. Leaderboards was right around the corner.
Like, there's just some core things that I'm like, why do we not have leaderboards? Or cross map persistence, like where if there was some way to persist data between games, then I could make infinite worlds. I could make a huge giant world if I could persist that data between games. And like the fact that we don't have that yet, it makes me like, why does that not exist? And so there's a number of things like that where if we had it, then that would like open up a ton of doors. But there's the things that they had to do before that. I get, like, let's have first person, let's have I don't know, like monetization, which we should talk about here. But but I think we'll get there. It is not there yet.
Cool. Well, let's hop into monetization. So, Jon, can you help us sort of understand what just happened with the recent update where in item sales or in island sales was unlocked?
Yeah. So they don't have a date yet, but in December they are going to allow in-game item sales, and I think that's going to be huge because I think it'll, like, for my example, for Tycoons, that's really popular in Roblox where you pay to unlock something or get double money. I think that will be huge to be able to help like the smaller Tycoons to grow and to like get some other revenue that's not necessarily click-through rate, because I think, and we'll talk about this later, but I think that the in tandem item sales along with the sponsored revenue, like the sponsored discovery paths, like if you have the right CPM, like you could just keep boosting that, and paying to sponsor it. And then, you're going to get X customers in and they're going to buy the items. I think that it's huge and it's going to open a lot of doors, I think, for smaller potential creators. I'll be curious to see how it works for the bigger maps, because like some of the examples were like selling access to a weapon. And I don't think we can do that. I think they changed the rules, say you can't make it be specifically like pay to win. But
really,
I think it's kind of loosely based.
I'm not exactly sure all the rules on it, but from what I've seen, like you could gatekeep a weapon if you wanted behind a paywall, or even opening this door.
Yeah.
You could say you can't open this
That's
door unless
true.
you pay
You
for
can.
it. So
Even
I
Tom
think
Jank had the paying 100 B-Bucks to jump.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I think you're going to see a lot of tech people, a lot of gray area, and probably even a lot of bad area too, like coming out. So I'm assuming there'll be a lot of rules that come out later. It's going to be a little bit of Wild West for a while, because I know Tim Sweeney has always said he's always kind of been opposed to this idea of pay to win or microtransactions within games, and I'm not sure what changed his mind. Maybe the current slump in Fortnite has changed his mind a little bit to be like, well, how can we monetize UEFN better? Because Epic will make money off of that, just like Roblox does. And so I think it'll be interesting to see how it evolves. But I also think it's not going to be like Roblox, where everyone's just used to it in Roblox. They've had it for 14 years. Versus everything's been free in Fortnite for 7.
Yeah.
And you don't ever have to spend a penny on that game to change the experience. And now you go into the game you like, and there's a paywall behind the new gun, or the person that pays can get a boost that makes them more powerful than you. There's going to be some pain around that, I think, in the player base, and people will like it. Some people will be like, sweet, I can, there's going to be the whales out there that are spending all the money, and there's going to be a lot of kids that are like, I don't want to play this anymore.
I think
like this guy's killing me. So it's going to be a very fine balance, I think, for game devs to figure out how to navigate it.
I think that's going to be the challenge, because if you have the top red versus blue map and you charge access to the minigun, why are they going to go play yours? They can just go play the other game and get it for free.
Yep.
And so I think that as creators, we're going to have to be really creative on how we monetize because of that fact. Like, I don't think that we'll be able to do the, like, example in Roblox, you can unlock to be able to automatically collect your money in a lot of Tycoons. I don't think that's going to work, because why are you going to do that when you can go play another Tycoon that already has it set up? I think we're going to have more meaningful in-game purchases in order to have that be successful.
At least to start, maybe in a year, everyone's just gonna be like, oh, whatever. They're just so used to it. But I think it's gonna be, this first year is gonna be a lot of experimentation, and and hoping people don't get burned off of your map because you did something that they didn't like, or maybe it's worth it because, like you said, like Jon was saying, you might not have 10,000 CCUs, but you have 100 that are paying like regularly, and then that becomes worth it. So who knows? You could see a lot more games like that have small player bases, but that they're paying out $5 a month or something, and you're like, okay, sweet, I can sustain this. So I think it is a good thing, but it's going to be an interesting, maybe painful process as people adjust.
Yeah. I mean, I think the headline is just like, it allows for more niche content to exist, right?
Yes.
Because like ultimately for people to do this, they need to be making some money. There's obviously creators who will do it for free and just do it because they, love to make games. But, you see it on Roblox all the time. The games, if a game reaches a certain level, it stops getting updated because it can't generate enough money to sustain the people working on it. So, it just gets dropped and it's done. And so, I think for Fortnite, especially given, that the number of players is lower, but the willingness to spend is higher, this is definitely important for a diversity of content to be viable. And then, you can keep updating it, and then who knows, maybe you add a feature that ends up making it go viral. And then this game that would have never existed ends up being a major driver of engagement because you find the sweet spot and you're able to monetize it.
Yes,
to
100%.
sustain it long enough. So yeah, I mean, I agree with everything you guys are saying. It's definitely like, at the end of the day, it should be a game design choice. It shouldn't be like a restriction. Like, the creators will know what's the best choice for the audience, and they have the incentives to do what's best.
It is a little awkward, I will say, because Epic has their own items that they're selling. So this isn't like Roblox, because Roblox doesn't have a core game that they are, or even a core, system where they're selling things. Versus Epic is like battle royale. They have control over discovery. They can feature whatever they want whenever they want their games, whether they're successful or not. I mean, I look at like ballistic mode, which is their first person kind of like CS:GO kind of knockoff, and it sat in a home bar for like, I don't know, 6 to 12 months, and it was getting way less players than maps that were getting no promotion. And so we're really competing against Epic, but Epic has they have all the keys to the kingdom kind of thing. And they even say you can't mess with skins, you can't mess with gun skins and any cosmetics that mess with something they would have bought from Fortnite. We cannot mess with that. So we have to do stuff that are maybe surrounds that, but we can't change it. Or so it makes it is a little bit, it is more restrictive than like another platform like Roblox.
And do you think that's a technical constraint, or that is a business decision?
It's a business decision, 100%. Well, and there's like, I can't change. I mean, there is things I could do. Like I could put boots on someone and say, yeah, it's just cosmetic. But and Epic is saying if you change the boot to have like affect the game, like if it's a speed boot instead of just a cosmetic boot, then you can sell it. So there's just a lot of these like nuanced things that are going to be, people are probably going to abuse. Be like, oh yeah, that boot boosted your damage output by 0.1% or something. I don't know. Like, it's going to be a little sticky or a little bit, I don't know, weird for a while. But I don't know. I don't know how long that'll last. But Epic it's just a little awkward between their system and what our systems can or could be.
I wonder if the fear is like, if people are selling like cosmetics in these experiences, that they'll stop purchasing items in the item store.
No. I think the worry is that you are interfering with something they've already bought, right? So it's like, oh, you're covering up Peely, the banana you bought, and with something else, and then they're like, oh, I don't want that, or I didn't know what I was buying. And so I think that's a little bit of the concern there.
Yeah,
because if you're spending if you're spending V-Bucks, I don't think Epic cares. They're like, we're making the money because you're spending it, and whatever you're spending on, I don't think they care whether it's a skin or opening a door. But I also think they don't want to mess with people's things they've already bought,
or like making them be able to sell something in a game that's very close to the cosmetic that they would buy in the item shop, right?
Yeah.
I think that's a challenge, but I think that as Fortnite grows, like I think they will move away from being the main game and be the platform. And I think that's just growing pains that we're going to be in for now.
Got it. Yeah, I mean, like on Roblox, if you're using that as sort of a case study, like you have your cosmetic, you have your avatar cosmetics, and then you have in-game cosmetics.
Yeah.
And like, if you decide that you want to overwrite the entire avatar and just give someone like a completely different character, that is the creator's choice, and then they have to sort of deal with the consequences of people not liking it because they can't use their own custom avatar. Like, it seems kind of weird that they would restrict this in the way that they're doing.
Definitely a little weird. But also there's just it could mess with the base mechanics of Fortnite movement, etc. And maybe that'll change. I think it'll change in the coming years, like kind of like Jon was saying, as Battle Royale becomes less of the main game of Fortnite. But I think it's gonna be it'll be a long transition period, probably years.
Cool. All right, let's move on to UA, user acquisition. So they introduced a couple things, UA rewards, some changes to discovery, and paid campaigns. So first off, Chad, you're a content creator. Curious to understand like how you're approaching the UA rewards and the direct links that they introduced that allow you to go from a link directly into an experience rather than going through the whole process of like uploading into Fortnite and then loading into the game.
We haven't really used it.
Uh-huh.
It's not super good yet. Mostly it just comes back to the same argument of, download sizes and stuff. Because if someone hasn't downloaded Fortnite and on their phone, because it's still like most people are playing Fortnite on console. I think it's like 80% or something like that. John, you can correct me if I'm wrong. I don't know exactly that, but it's like the vast majority of players are on console. So that right there, completely, like there's no point to the link. So whether you're clicking on it on your PC or on your phone and it's taking you to that, it still has to be you have downloaded it. If you haven't downloaded it, it's a massive download that's going to take you an hour or more to download. And then even then it takes a while to boot up because it is so much memory. And then you have to download the map if you haven't. So it's not something that we're using a lot. There's not a huge benefit to the links yet. But if they're working on thin client, which is supposed to be smaller download sizes where you can just download UEFN maps or whatever. And as we start to see that come out, we'll probably start testing it out more. But even then, we're not allowed to do like paid advertisements outside of Fortnite. That breaks terms of service. We can say, hey, click the link in the description below or something. But even that is not super effective. Like, it's easier just to say, hey, go search for my game or the code in, like, when you boot up Fortnite, make sure you go search Brainrot. And ours is the first one on there, right? Like, that is more effective than saying click on this link, because then people are like, well, where am I going? Like, I don't like. So it is still more effective to do that.
So, do you think they pushed this update just because it was easy? Like, what's the?
Yeah, I think it was probably, it's not that hard to do technically, but it still doesn't make sense with the current system. I think it is probably in preparing for what's coming down because I think it's coming. Like, they're going to figure out how to have smaller download sizes where mobile will become a bigger player. I think Epic, because of the lawsuit with Apple and Google, they hadn't been working on mobile, but that is resolving. It's still ongoing, but it's available in the EU. It's available in the US. It's becoming more available in other territories every week, kind of thing. And so I think that's kind of jostled them into like, okay, we got to figure this out fast. And versus, I don't think they were working on it before because they're like, we don't know, we could be in a litigation for another 10 years. What's the point of spending all the time developing it when we can't put it on any platform? So we'll see. I think we'll see more changes in the next year, and then linking will become more effective.
Cool. And then the other thing that was introduced was paid campaigns, which I'm guessing is sponsored ads, right? So basically the ability to pay for discovery to show you in a sponsored tab on Fortnite. So just want to get your early perspectives on what this means for you guys as creators, how you're going to use it. Is there anything that gets unlocked through this, or is this an opportunity for Epic to just sort of like take some money back from you guys?
I don't know, John, what's your experience so far?
The click-through rate is a lot worse. It's in my experience, like at max, the best case, it seems like it's 10% of what it is normally in Discover.
Yeah.
It seems like people kind of gloss over. Now, that being said, I guess if you have a game that has 10% click-through and you can get 1% and have custom items down the road, I think that'll be viable. I think in its current state, it kind of feels like something that allows the bigger players to just be relevant. Because like you can see somebody that has had a big map from like the earlier, like a year or two ago, or they have a couple thousand CCU. If they can spend enough money to push it into Homebar, for example, that will recover that. But I think it's tougher for smaller devs to make it work right now.
Yeah. that's kind of what we're experiencing a little bit. I mean, we've been watching people that are doing it. We've done some of our own campaigns, and right now the CPMs are pretty high. I would say for what you're getting, and not only that, like the people, if we've seen, so
Sorry,
bigger maps.
when you say CPM, what are you referring to?
Okay, so a CPM is how much you spend for 1,000 impressions. So it's the same. Like if you're spending money to do Google ads or anything else, it's not too different. It's very similar.
And then what is the cost?
Well,
Roughly?
it depends. Like you can bid because it's an auction bid to where if John says, "Hey, I want to bid for this space, and I'm willing to pay $5 CPM," and I say I'm willing to spend $10, mine will outbid John's at $5.01. And then if John's like, "Well, I'm going to adjust it to $5.50," and then but mine will outbid his at $5.56, and then so I'll get the impression over him. But I also have a daily spend limit. So if I hit my daily spend limit, if I put that at $100, then John's could take over and say, okay, now John's next at $5, and he'll get that impression over mine because I've already reached my daily limits. And so right now the limits are, the top is $20 for CPM, which is absurd. I mean, to make back $20 on an impression or a click, I mean, just imagine like you have to pay $20 for a game. Like someone have to spend $20 or more on your game for that to make sense. So if someone's paying that, it's an absurd price. But you can spend up to that much. Probably a better range is in anywhere from 50 cents to $2. Like if you're spending over $2 on a CPM, you're probably not gonna, like, you're probably wasting your money. But a lot of these guys, I think, are spending that over that right now. And the problem is, like, if you right now, I think if you put your daily budget too low, you're just gonna get this spike. You'll get like one spike. It'll spend all your daily budget within like 5-10 minutes, or like if you put your daily budget at $100, you'll probably get 20 minutes of impressions. And that's not going to do anything for your game. Versus I've seen some maps that are, in the sponsor row for 24 hours. I bet they're spending tens of thousands of dollars for that. And that might be worth it.
How much are they making back, do you think?
I don't know. Like that's the problem, is like you don't know. Like they're getting into it will get you into other categories that will sustain the player base, right? So if it works for a day and then you stay in top rated, or you stay in some other discovery rows, or it gets you into home bar, like John was saying, then it's probably worth it, because then it's like you can see a longer tail of players. Versus if you're just going to get a spike for an hour, that's not enough, or 10 minutes or whatever it is, that's not enough to sustain it. And for bigger maps like that already have player bases, I haven't seen it be effective at all. Like, because they're already getting millions of impressions a day, and you paid for 500,000. Like, you might see a slight bump, but it's even then, it's like, is that really worth it?
Mm-hmm.
I think what we're seeing is bigger creators that have disposable income are saying, well, now I can go boost my map that doesn't have any plays on it now and see if I can get that into discovery.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's tough for small creators because they don't have $10,000 to go spend on sponsor rows. But some of these guys that are making $1 million or plus a month, they say, I don't care about $10,000. I'll just see what I can do here. And so it is tough. But it's also only been out for a week, not even a week. And we'll see how it levels out. And like John was saying, once monetization comes out, you might even be able to justify, like, oh, if I could spend $1, but I make $1.50, then you can just ramp it up as you need, right? And start to build a solid player base. So we'll see. I think right now it's still just like people are shooting every which way, trying to figure out like what's going to work, including my company. We're like, I don't know. We tried one thing, is like that was a giant waste of money, and we're trying something different. We'll see if that's a big waste of money or not. I don't. we'll try and figure it out. But I think it's right now it's better for smaller maps than bigger maps. But I also think it's very expensive currently. And I also think there's people that are doing this that don't understand what a CPM even is.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, I'll put my max at $10.
It's wild.
And it's just like, you don't know what you're like, and they're spending it, right? They're like, it drives up the auction to where it doesn't even make sense to bid because someone's outbidding you and then driving it up. So I think it'll level out as people start to realize I'm wasting a ton of money. And it'll start to level out probably more in that $1 to $2 range is what I'm guessing is gonna where it will end up.
And they show us an average too. So like that first day it was 67 cents per the CPM was the average bid. So like you could say I want to spend 11 cents per 1,000 impressions.
And it gets in that first day ours was 2, right? So it was like somebody, at least in my category or whatever it was, like people were bidding.
Somebody has to be paying that higher amount because I'd imagine they get the front line in the sponsored impressions row. And there's some that have been in there for a few days, so there's no way they're spending 50 cents a 1,000.
No, they're well over 2. It would be my guess.
So it sounds like the takeaway is like don't engage right now. Like wait till things settle down, people waste their money and move away from it, and then you can sort of start to bid at a reasonable price.
I would say wait until you can measure it yourself in terms of like with monetization. Like you're like I can earn $3 per user, then it makes sense to spend $2 to acquire them. Right now we don't even know. Like the problem is you don't know what per user how much you're making because it is all engagement based, and the engagement was based on how much Epic made that month. So we don't know, like, did Epic have a good month in November? Did they have a good month in December? Probably those are their better months. So it might be worth spending more in December and November. But in the middle of July, I would say heck no, because that's like always their worst month. And your output is going to be way less then. So it is really it's really hard to base it off of engagement payouts. But if you can come down to where I am earning X amount per user, then it makes more sense.
All right. So we're kind of coming to the end of the conversation. So the final question for you guys would be, what's one change that Epic could make tomorrow that would most help your work?
I think for me, I don't know. I guess probably better ability to create custom items and weapons, I think would be number one for me. I think until then, we can kind of do it now, but it's really hacky to try to make a custom item or a custom weapon. And I think that will be the thing that will be huge. And I'll just add a slight caveat of also the ability to manage our players' data. If I have a player that loses their data and it's wiped, I can do nothing to it right now. And that kind of scares me with in-app purchases, with in-game purchases coming, that, if that something happens to their account, they can lose all their progress. I think, because I really want to get into
they paid real money for
games, and they paid real money for stuff, and I don't want them to lose that. So I think the biggest thing is that stability in data and custom stuff would be huge.
Yeah, I mean, those are both absolutely, and this is the problem: is if you asked a room of 10 developers, they probably all have a different answer, and they'd all be right, and so that is a big problem right there. But I would say for me, and what JOGO's doing, we have this desire to build bigger games, and it's really hard right now to build anything more than like a mini game. And like there's so many restrictions on memory and how big your world can be. That's why I kind of mentioned before cross map persistence, because then we could do stuff where like the interior of the castle is one map, and then when you go outside, it's a different map, but it's still the same game. And then you go into the dungeon, and that's a different map. But it's still the same map. It's still the same game. But so I don't know the solution to it, but I would love more like either more memory or more like a much better optimized experience where we can fit more into a single game. because we want to build bigger and cooler experiences. That AAA experience that Jon's talking about that you can't get in Roblox, or people don't want to play in Roblox. I don't know. I actually don't know how big you can make stuff in Roblox. It's pretty big. I think I've been playing Blox Fruits. That's a pretty big game, but it is. I don't know. We're so limited right now to what we can do. So that would probably be my number one. But like I said before, I think if you asked any other developer, they'd probably say something different. They'd say leaderboards, or they'd say, I don't know. There's just a ton of things that we're lacking right now that we need before we can really take off.
Interesting. Some of the things you guys have mentioned as restraints, I wonder like how much of it is a cost issue for Epic to like deliver those things, like memory, for example, like persistence, like having data stored reliably. These are all things that cost money, and we saw with Roblox's latest earnings, right? They grew their audience, but their profitability actually shrank, and so it's like, oh well, that's not a good signal in terms of like this the variable cost side. If you're adding more players, but it's costing you more money than you're making. So
I'm
it's interesting.
I'm sure that's part of it, because everyone says, "Oh yeah, I want first person," but then they spend all this time making first person available, and then nobody plays it. And you're like, "Shoot, that was a waste of time," right? And like, what is the bet that's going to pay off is definitely a problem, because we could go give Epic a giant list, and then they could go hire a ton of developers to come and build it, and then no one plays it. What was the point? So that's definitely a concern. And I also think one of Fortnite's problems is it's on so many devices. It's on like really right now the biggest problem is the Nintendo Switch. That's why we have to have smaller maps, or like maps with 100,000 memory or something, or under that, is because the Nintendo Switch they have to continue to support. And same thing with bringing mobile in. That's going to create all sorts of devices that you have to continue to support. So there are issues with that, but I think not that they're not solvable. But yeah, I'm sure Epic is weighing their profitability and like what's worth it, and they're like, I don't think UEFN's made them any money yet. 100% it hasn't. Like it's a big bet into the future, and how long are they willing to make that bet is a good question.
Yeah, I mean it's been over $1 billion that they've put into just creator payouts, not even counting the expense of like running all those servers and the labor to build all of the infrastructure and create those updates. So
yeah, I think the biggest challenge is that it's just a dev myself formerly. I think their problem is everything is so tightly connected to VR. Yeah. I mean, we see it. We're a new I mean, you guys do it all the time. When JOGO, the new VR season comes out and it wrecks something big, and so you have to rush to fix it. So I think that once we have that finally decoupled, where they are doing VR in UEFN and they're doing these new Disney experiences and Lego experiences, it's all coming in UEFN, and it's not in some special like Unreal Engine version. I think that's when we'll see more success, but it just has to be a nightmare to try to disconnect all of that from Fortnite, because that's what it's all built off of. So
yeah. Yep. I feel like they said that they were going to make the next Fortnite season in UEFN like a year ago, and then it sounds like that hasn't materialized.
Well, they said that I feel like it was Unreal Fest 2024. Their goal
back
was
in
to build
New Orleans, yeah.
And it was, and I was like, really? but it was like they said their goal was by the end of this year, but earlier this year they said they're not ready for that yet, and so they're still. I think it's still a goal, but I don't know if that'll ever. I mean, I hope it's a possibility, but not this season, not this chapter.
Cool, guys. So just in closing, like, what's the best way for folks to follow your work and keep up to date on what you guys are doing in the space?
Yeah, for me, I mean, you can look Sloth Games up on Fortnite.gg or CightedSloth on Twitter. It's my same handle on all of my socials. So
for me, it's just search Mustard Plays. You can find my YouTube channel or Twitter or wherever. Or you can look up JOGO games. I think it's jogogames.com if you want to see what the company's doing there. Those are my main things.
Awesome. Well, thanks for coming on the podcast, guys. This has been an illuminating conversation, and hopefully next time we'll have some exciting updates on how all of this has progressed and how bullish we are on the Fortnite ecosystem long term.
Thanks
for having us.
If you enjoyed today's episode, whether on YouTube or your favorite podcast app, make sure to like, subscribe, comment, or give a 5-star review. And if you want to reach out or provide feedback, shoot us a note at podcast@naavik.co or find us on Twitter and LinkedIn. Plus, if you want to learn more about what Naavik has to offer, make sure to check out our website, www.naavik.co. There, you can sign up for the #1 games industry newsletter, Naavik Digest, or contact us to learn about our wide-ranging consulting and advisory services. Again, that is www.naavik.co. Thanks for listening, and we'll catch you in the next episode.